I'm back, and today I'm reviewing the ZX Touch, a retro handheld gaming console. It's large, has a bright screen and it has flashy lights. But is it any good?
Let's all turn on the tube. This is hot dog soup.
This video does not contain any paid promotions, commercials or product placements. Enjoy! Remember the Vega Plus scam? Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that anymore. With the loss of the Vega Plus, ZX Spectrum handheld gaming seemed further away than ever before. But not anymore. This product is real, it's available, you can buy it and it works. Let's have a look at the ZX Touch. So, ZX Spectrum handheld gaming. Well, there's a big problem with that. Because most handheld retro gaming devices do not have a keyboard. And yeah, you might say, well, I'm not playing adventure games anyway, but on the ZX Spectrum you often need a couple of keys to do the settings, to start the game, to start in 1 or 2 player mode, etc. The ZX Touch solves this by having a touchscreen keyboard. So ZX Spectrum gaming magically becomes touch gaming. This device started as a hobby project by Goran Radan of Elmar Electronic in Croatia. And Mr. Radan is a real ZX Spectrum fanboy. Not only did he create the ZX VGA Joy interface, he created the entire ZX Touch prototype, wrote all of the code running it by himself, and now he's producing it in his own factory. This means the ZX Touch didn't need a Kickstarter program, it's not a scam, you can actually buy it now. The ZX Touch is pricey, slightly less pricey than a Nintendo Switch, but it has a very large touchscreen that possibly delivers a great gaming experience. Let's find out. So, what is the ZX Touch? It's a robust handheld gaming device specifically to emulate the ZX Spectrum. The developer, Mr. Radan, emphasizes that this is not just a standard device with some existing software slapped onto it. It's all made completely from scratch. This is bare metal emulation and this means there's no additional software required. There is no Android, there's no Linux, there's no Windows, it doesn't use RetroArch, it doesn't use Fuse, it just emulates the ZX Spectrum by itself. So here are some specifications of the ZX Touch. Please note that I'm not a specs guy. I don't really care about megahertz, megapixels, megabytes. I want the user experience to be good. I want the design to be good. I want the way how things work to be nice. But if you must have some specs, here they are. The ZX Touch runs on an embedded ARM Cortex M7 480MHz MCU. It has a large 7-inch touchscreen display with a 1024x600 resolution. On screen the device offers 2 different keyboards as well as configurable side keyboards. It has dual D-pads, an analog joystick, and it has disco lights that can show the Spectrum border color, audio-based color or simply just your favorite color. It's not very important, but I've been told that anything gaming related nowadays must have RGB lights. So there you go, they're included. There's a loud loudspeaker and there's a headphone jack plug. There is an SD card slot which can be used to store your own game progress and of course to add your own games. There is a USB-C port, but it's currently only being used for charging. Its data lines are connected to the processor, but currently cannot be used to transfer any data. The Wi-Fi is 2.4 GHz only, and at the moment it can only be used to download software updates. In the future the device will get more Wi-Fi related features. The battery offers 3000 mAh of power, which should last for 6 hours. There's a USB cable included, but not an SD card. It comes with a manual and it also comes with a nice carrying case. So that was the hardware, but what about the software? The ZX Touch comes with about 30 games, which are all modern age games, including a couple from RetroWorks and Paul Jenkinson. They're really nice games, they really show that modern gaming is actually possible on a ZX Spectrum. You can also add your completely legal and not pirated ROMs. The ZX Touch supports TAP, SNA, Z80 and TRD files. Other ROM file types will be supported in a future software update. The ZX Spectrum ROMs that are included for the ZX Spectrum 48K and 128K are a licensed version, which is slightly different than the original version. But of course you can also add your completely legal and not pirated original ROM files. The analog joystick can be set up to be 4-directional or 8-directional, and its sensitivity can be changed. The joystick and both D-pads can be configured and mapped any way you want. You could even put a Kempston joystick on the left, a Sinclair joystick on the right, and even add some additional keys on the side keyboards. Yes indeed, you can play Target Renegade or Gauntlet in 2-player mode simply by cuddling up with another person. Thanks to the 2 side keyboards, you can even play games that use a lot of keys, like Elite or Flight Simulation. Thanks to the full on-screen keyboard, you can even play text adventure games, which most handheld gaming consoles cannot do. You can even program on it in BASIC. So get out those old type-in magazines and start typing. To access the SD card, there's a simple file browser, which you can use to browse files and directories and find all the things that are stored on it. By simply tapping, you can just open ROM files and run them, but you can also create your own dashboards which feature your own favorite games. The touchscreen is a breeze. It really makes controlling the device so much nicer than any other handheld games console, where you have to annoyingly scroll through lists using a joystick. The settings you do can be saved in any way you want. There are global settings and 4 slots for additional settings you want to save, but you can also store all of the settings you make per game. So for each game, whatever you set up, it can be saved along with it. The screen, which is very bright and colorful, supports scanlines, interlace and ULA plus colors. For sound, you can individually mix the AI sound and the beeper sound of the Spectrum any way you like. The ZX Touch has tons and tons of other features. I'm not gonna mention them all, but there are things like background images, changing the color palette of the ZX Spectrum, and of course setting custom game backgrounds. So let's talk a little bit about the design of the ZX Touch. The ZX Touch is a chunky, large device. There's nothing subtle about it. Here it is compared to my large hand, and here it is compared to an iPad mini. It's considerably large and it won't fit in your pocket. This is handheld gaming and not pocket gaming. The build quality is sturdy and it's durable, so it's no AliExpress kind of crap plastic. It is designed with repairability in mind. You can even open it up, and if needed you can replace the joystick or the D-pads. The design of the device and its casing is a little bit bland. It shows that the creator is an industrial hardware guy and not really a young and hip gaming toy creator. The software also reflects that. It looks a bit Windows 95-ish and it could really use a fresh look from a modern day mobile device designer. Not to worry, everything works fine, but it could be made a lot more intuitive and less messy. The ZX Touch basically does not need any setup. You just switch it on and it works immediately. There's no messing around with hundreds of settings, it just immediately works. Of course there are a lot of settings you can do, but the included games immediately work. And if you do the settings for your own games, they will be stored per game and then you never have to set up your game settings ever again. Adding your own games is very easy, you just put them on the SD card and it can immediately run them. You can also create your own dashboard, which requires a little bit more fiddling around, but you don't have to. If you do create your own dashboard with your own favorite games on it, you can switch it on and launch your game even quicker. Creating your own dashboard works really well, even though it's a little bit cumbersome and the user interface isn't really that nice. You need to create a couple of images with specific sizes, etc., and then you can add those to the game. The device will then make a single file from it, which you can share with other people. Like I said earlier, the device is really very fast. It boots immediately and you can even disable the intro screen, which saves you another couple of seconds. The file browser and the dashboard scroll really quickly and everything works really smoothly and snappily. It would be nice if there was a search or a filter function, because if you have a lot of files and a lot of games on it, it's really hard scrolling around trying to find things. Launching games is really very quick, it's just a couple of taps away and then you're off. Changing any setting is very easy, but you have to remember to save them. There is no auto-save feature. So you have to manually save every time you change some settings. The ZX Touch doesn't even tell you to save, so if you forget to save your settings, they're gone the next time. Some of the settings are global, like the master volume and the screen brightness, but you can't really know which settings are global and which are per game. Switching between keyboard modes is very comfortable. There are buttons for it and you can hold 2 fingers on the screen to entirely remove all of the user interface and keyboard, so you can really immerse yourself into the game. It is, however, very annoying that the game will pause as soon as you pop up the keyboard again. Why doesn't it continue? Most of the time you probably want to tap some keys while playing, but as soon as the keyboard appears, the game pauses and you have to manually unpause it again. It's not very handy. And hiding the user interface so that everything is gone is, I think, the most important feature of this entire device. It removes all of the messy UI from the screen and it actually makes the immersive experience of a game much nicer. There are also a couple of other UI, UX things that are a little bit messy. For instance, if you launch a game through your dashboard and you want to leave that, you need to use the cancel button instead of a back button that's present everywhere else. Scrolling on the dashboard works vertically, but you cannot scroll horizontally if you have multiple pages. In that case, you have to use previous and next buttons on the sides, which is a bit counterintuitive. There are several other UI and UX problems, but of course they can be fixed in the future, and of course you won't notice them while you're playing games. Speaking of which, what is it actually like to play games on this thing? Because that's what it's made for. I've been talking about other things. Yes, I know I'm a nerd, but here we go. Please note that I do not have professional recording equipment, so I cannot record the screen in a proper way to represent the quality of the ZX Touch screen. These still photos give a much better impression of the actual quality of the screen. The screen is beautiful and it really makes playing games up close and personal. It's entirely different from playing on your PC or your TV. The games are now more in your face, and even those 40-year-old Spectrum games with limited sounding graphics all of a sudden come to life in a way you may have never experienced. It is a large device, it has a large screen, but it makes the game so much better. We used to sit at our speckies with tiny little television sets, but now these old games are just so beautiful on this large screen of the ZX Touch. It's actually great, and this is, I think, one of the main selling points for this device. And you can take it along with you. You can now enjoy ZX Spectrum games anywhere. You don't have to lock yourself up in your man cave or your office or at a separate desk somewhere with a television. No, you have it in your hand. You can have a social experience with other people. It's amazing. The joystick and the D-pads respond quickly and immediately. There's no lag. If I play Spectrum games on my computer with Fuse, for example, or another emulator, the controls are always sort of laggy. Not on this one. The ZX Touch actually has quick and snappy controls and it works perfectly. I really like the scan lines option, so it looks like you're playing an old CRT, but I would prefer to have some additional shaders and algorithms to emulate different kinds of CRT effects. Saving and loading game states is actually very simple. There are 3 positions to store and 3 positions to read. Like on a calculator, it's storing and reading and then you're done. Apart from the save states, there's also a rewind function where you can go back in time while playing a game. This can be really handy, for instance, if you're stuck in a game of Fred. Apart from that, there's also a poke tool which can load POC files. So now finally you can easily complete Cookie without dying. So how about the sound? The speaker is not very large, but it's very loud. It's very loud. I almost always set it to the... One thing that is missing, and I think is essential, is a turbo mode, a way to speed up the ZX Spectrum. For instance, when playing the Sentinel or other slow games that require a lot of calculation. That could really improve those old games that are sometimes slow when a lot is going on. In conclusion, playing games on this device is really nice and wonderful. It's up close and personal, the graphics are beautiful, the frame rate is beautiful, the controls are really snappy and responsive. It really is a great handheld gaming device. It's a little bit clunky and industrial, the design is not very designy. It's a big device with a big screen, but of course most people who will be interested in this will be of reading glasses age, and then the large screen is a big help. It's very easy to use, it's very easy to install games, and if you put in the effort to create your own games dashboard, it will become a beautiful and nice experience, and you can just instantly play your favorite games at all times. If the ZX Touch is worth its steep price, it's really up to you. If you're a true ZX Spectrum fanatic who wants to play games on a daily basis, it may well be worth it. Maybe if the price could be 179 or 159 pounds, it would attract a larger audience. The software itself has some limitations and it has some glitches, but it's a work in progress. And here's an important thing. Even though the developer making this device and the software is really passionate about it, he only does it as a hobby. So that's a problem. He only can do it in the weekends because he's also the co-owner of Elmar Electronics. They have tons of clients, they have tons of work. He can only work on a ZX Touch, in his spare time. So I think he should hire a couple of extra developers and also UX and UI designers to truly make this a great device. Sure, you can already have a great gaming experience as it is now. But the software on the ZX Touch is a little bit messy and it's a little bit unintuitive. And that does not match its current price. You can ignore all of that while you are thoroughly enjoying playing games on the beautiful screen, but I had to mention it. If you have other ideas or opinions about this, let me know in the comments. So there you go, that is the ZX Touch. I told you everything I know, I told you everything that I think is important. I hope you enjoyed it and found it very informative. I'm gonna play Dodgy the Kangaroo now, the real basic version on the real ZX Touch, and I'll see you next time.